The great decoupling has officially happened as the Nasdaq getting destroyed, Dow Jones getting obliterated, and the S&P getting the Thanos finger slap. But when you take a look at Bitcoin, it is almost at $84,000 from a low of $82,000 yesterday. What the hell is going on? Has the decoupling officially begun? We have that to talk about. We have some updates on Donald Trump versus Jerome Powell. We might throw him on the big screen back here. Who's going to win in the end? Will Jerome succumb to Donald? We'll talk about that and what that could mean for the Fed and cutting interest rates. We'll take a look at some altcoins, what BlackRock is doing, how much money they paid in dividends on Ethereum. And is that enough to bring Ethereum out of the abyss and into the blue skies of breakouts? We have that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob. Back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment, price prediction, which way are we going to go today, this weekend, focus channel. Take old, boring, stale information, repackage that thing up in a fun, sexy, over-the-top, quality kind of way. That's what we do here.
You missed me yesterday? What?
I did not, no.
I got to say, Ashley's intro was actually pretty good. With the Starbucks coffee, that was good. I gave her a high five. Why do I look small next to you?
You are small.
Well, fuck. I'll have none of that. Thank you very much. Anyways, since you missed me so much yesterday, I'm back. You're welcome. Made some money for the company. You're also welcome. Anyways, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. My God, Robin. Take a look at this. If I told you just a month and a half ago that, hey, Rob, bro, Dow Jones tomorrow is going to be down 1,600 points. Nasdaq down 5%. The S&P down 4.5%. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to go, Rob? Are we going to go sub 80K? What would you be saying right now?
I'm very surprised that Bitcoin is holding up at current levels. It hasn't dipped under 80,000.
What would you expect Bitcoin to do, though? Obviously, retrospect, we see what's happening. We're like, okay. But if we didn't see this, I would have thought Bitcoin is definitely going in the 70s. We're tapping that 77K region again, maybe even a little lower. Two, and if it closes the way Dow Jones is down now, that would be back-to-back days of 1,600 point losses, which is, I think, the worst since the pandemic. Are you kind of in the same boat?
The market is way, way, way down right now. And the fact that we had two back-to-back days down 4%.
That's massive.
Yeah, I mean, we luckily didn't close over 5% yesterday.
You understand these are recession numbers, right?
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100% recession numbers. Now, I will say that in the past, when you had recessions, we did have those big pullbacks, but you never really had a big bounce back, right? And so, you know, on one hand, you can say, hey, these are big pullbacks that you get in the earlier parts or in the early stages of a recession, right? You can look no further than 2008 with the financial crisis. You know, it started with 5% days, right? I think the S&P 500 was down 6%. That was the first day. But then day after day, it shed off more and more. And then when there was a rally, it couldn't make up anywhere close to what was already lost. And I don't know if this is an acute sell-off. I don't know if this is a short-term sell-off.
This is not an ugly sell-off, not an acute one, bro. Not a cute one.
But I don't know, man. I'm still on the fence. I still think the markets are overreacting to the tariffs, but probably with just cause. And will we keep selling off and ultimately turning this year into a recessionary year? I'm about 50-50 at this point, man. If nothing changes with the tariffs, then at that point, I don't know, man. I mean, things are going to get more expensive, man. You know, like I said, I was eyeballing that Mercedes, and you know, that's now become you know, I was eyeballing a $115,000 Mercedes, man. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the table. $115,000, not the most expensive, not the S-Class here, but, you know, a nice E53 or E63. Anyways, 100. That is now like 150 grand, up from 115 to 150. You know what? Like, there's only so much. I did. Thank God I got that Porsche GT3 the other day, because here we go. There's me washing my Porsche out here. Don't worry about me, player. I'm still getting mine. I ain't got the Mercedes, but I still got to keep that Porsche clean. So
stupid. Did you see this one? Since we're on the funnies, can't wait for the stock market to open again. This was us, the stock market traders, yesterday.
Well, that's not all bad. You
Wait,
got to give.
Listen to what the stock market is saying, Robin.
Sterling, how are you feeling, girl? That was a crazy fight.
I'm super excited. It was really tough. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was definitely a different ball game, but I had a blast, so thank you.
Yeah, we all had a blast yesterday, right?
Well, it's
stock
not
traders?
all doom and gloom. We got to give Trump his praise. He was awarded Employee of the Month. So, congratulations, Donald Trump. You made it Employee of the Month. There you go. Can we get a round of applause for Donald Trump? Employee of the Month for Russia. There we go.
We got a lot of. Speaking of Trump, Rob, was there any doubt in your mind? Okay, the gold cards that came out?
Yeah, that was good.
Was there any ounce of doubt in your mind that those cards would not have his face on it?
I did not think they were gonna have his face on there. I'm gonna be honest.
Really?
I did not.
It's
I
Donald
thought
Trump.
Yeah, but
Anyways, if you're not sure what we're talking about, here you go.
$5 million. For $5 million, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. And then, you know what that card is?
Please play the rest of this video. It gets even better. For $5 million, you can get your own gold card. Your own card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me. I'm the second. I don't know, but I'm the first buyer.
Me?
It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks.
I bought the first one, baby.
Pretty exciting, right?
Why a president wants a gold card?
He is so funny, man. This guy is.
In case they get deported.
I mean, since we're on the Trump thing, I can't.
Oh, you got more Trump. Okay, Trump day today.
I can't get away from it, bro.
Okay.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
Too much.
We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win. We're going to win so much, you may.
There's a new version.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't want to see it.
Oh, did I? Crap, I closed it. Damn it.
Also, let's not forget, his son told us a month ago, buy ETH, thank me later. I think it's time to thank him. Thank you, younger Trump. Now, the markets might be down, and yesterday was choppy. We were out here making a little money yesterday. So if you're not part of our Discord and our trading group.
Oh, here it is. I found the other one. Here we go. So, you ready? So, here it is. Yeah. That's all it is. This is short and sweet, baby.
That's not a Trump one, and we're probably going to get a copyright for that.
Yeah, we'll be fine. This is a short clip.
Okay, we'll get to the trading here in a minute, but since we're on Trump, let's stay on Trump. It's very interesting. Okay, so Trump's new tariffs threaten Bitcoin mining industry. The experts are warning us. Christian Sepskar. Anyways, Christian, with a K, the chief marketing officer at Brains with two eyes, a prominent Bitcoin mining technology firm, said that while American companies like Oradine are crafting mining equipment, the dream of fully U.S.-based supply chain right down to the raw materials remains out of reach. So they're pretty much implying, look, even if we went along with what Trump is saying and do everything here in the U.S., we can't because of the raw materials. And so experts are saying this is going to affect the mining. You have a run on ASICs right now happening from some of the largest Bitcoin miners. Robin, do you see this as a threat to the Bitcoin mining industry if they cannot upgrade their ASICs in a timely manner and have to spend more money? That means they would have to sell more Bitcoin, especially if the price is down. And that's kind of how people are extrapolating.
I don't really share this same point of view. And so the way I look at this situation is that ASICs aren't manufactured in the U.S. I mean, I'm sure they're a small percentage, but it's all overseas. All the chips are made overseas. Right?
Yeah.
So all the chips are made overseas. All the components, the fans, and so majority of it's made overseas, anyways. So what you're going to find is that these Bitcoin mining is going to shift from the U.S. and go elsewhere. Because if you are, let's just say you're Bitmain or some large, Marathon, you have your mining centers here in the United States, you're probably better off building your next warehouse or your next mining center overseas. Because if you're importing the miners and paying 25%, we know the profit margins are very tight. Wouldn't it make sense to say, hey, at Marathon, we're going to open up our next mining center in Toronto, in Canada, and use the electro power over there in the Niagara Falls area. And there's a surplus of energy anyways. It's right outside the U.S. You don't pay the 25%. You get the basically 25% off on all of your miners. I think that is going to absolutely hamstring Bitcoin's hash rate from the U.S. And I think that mining is going to move elsewhere. That's my personal opinion. There's very, very thin profit margins with miners.
I know, especially the big ones. The amount of money they spend and having to constantly upgrade the equipment to make it as cost effective and energy saving as possible, because that's where their biggest overhead is the cost of energy, right? To mine the Bitcoin.
But if you're paying more for the miners,
right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Or if it's too expensive and you can't upgrade to the new miners that are more cost effective with energy, then.
But also you gotta. I mean, there's so many lines of conflict, right? There's so many different directions where there's so many different pain points, and so you have one scenario where, sure, the miners themselves might cost more, but we know that in the Great Lakes area, there's a lot of energy being brought in from Canadian resources. And so now that they're talking about doing a tariff on energy as well. I don't know if that went into effect, but I know originally during the tariff kind of tit for tat back and forth that the US had with Canada, was that they were going to charge a surplus or tariff on energy coming from Canada. So that could also be impactful for Bitcoin mining as well. And so there's a lot of factors. Just like I said, even if it's made in America, if the parts that are put into that product come from overseas, those parts are going to be tariffed as well, right? I mean, if you build a camera here, I'm very familiar with studio equipment. If you build a camera here in the United States, like Blackmagic, they're an American-based company. If they're building the camera here, but the sensors and the lens and the circuitry and the boards, they all come from Asia, then the camera still gets hit with a tariff, even though it's built here in the U.S. So I feel like everything's going to have blanket inflation here in the short term, just because it's such a large hike. If it had been like if Trump would have done 5 or 10% off the bat, maybe it wouldn't have been such a shock. But the fact that that everything that comes into the United States is going up by 25% or at least by 10%. Is pretty damning, man. And I think that's what we're seeing in the markets.
We need tax cuts. And I've said this before, tariffs with tax cuts, fine.
I don't know what tax cuts are going to do.
Well,
I understand the tariffs.
They're from the idea of no income tax on people who make under $150K a year. I think that's a great start. I think that's an excellent start.
I think the great start is not to crumble the economy and by ratcheting up massive tariffs. And I think that if what Trump is doing is he's saying, hey, we're gonna drop these massive tariffs, we're gonna break the economy, and then the only way out is to make a deal and remove all tariffs from both sides, right? And then if that happens, cool. But you know what? You're playing chicken with the economy, right? You got a freight train coming in front of you. You're driving your truck. You're like, hey, man, I will crash right into you, bro. I will crash my economy right into yours. Like, I don't care. Or you remove every single boundary for trade. Now, will it work? Perhaps. Will it not work and we just end up in some massive recession? And remember, there's too much leverage in the global economy, particularly the U.S. economy. It doesn't take much for cascading problems to happen, banks to go under, bank runs, things like that. You know, you could find yourself on the brink of a depression if things get out of control and somebody doesn't step in. You know, Donald Trump has even came out and was like, hey, and that whole thing, like, hey, let's remove taxes. Like, that doesn't help the situation. You can't just like burn down the house and then be like, well, you know what, we're gonna great time to take a vacation. You know what, let's do X, Y, Z. Like, dude, you're crashing the economy with the tariffs. And I voted for Trump. He aligns with a lot more of what I stand for, but I don't agree with everything he does.
He ran on tariffs though, but we just didn't think it was going to be.
I didn't think it was going to be to that point. You know, and I think crypto is in a
how I knew the guy went overboard is when he put tariffs on that one island that only has penguins.
Yeah,
that's how you know the guy's.
That was just them being just being funny, right? You know.
No, that was literally, he's like every single country, and then the guy was like, even the ones with no people. Yes, even those two, the penguins and the walruses.
But
you know,
I mean, here's the thing, like, you know, taxes. Even what his remedy is break and then put Band-Aids on, right? Okay, when we broke the economy by doing the tariff thing and just disrupting global trade. Well, let's cut taxes, or what he's doing now is saying, hey, Jerome Powell and the Fed should cut interest rates. Like, hey, Jerome Powell, cut interest rates.
So happy you said that.
And you know, it's like, you can't just like F the economy and then look for somebody else to bail it out.
Sure you can.
Because you don't want
You're
to.
the president.
It's still there's too many moving. It's not going to work, man. I'm telling you, you can cut interest rates all you want. If everything costs 25% or more and companies just stop importing, it's going to F up the economy in the short term. Now maybe Mercedes and all these fancy brands from Europe and all these commodities that come in, all the food and agriculture. Maybe a lot of these companies say, you know what, we'll set up shop in the U.S. so that way we can still, we can evade it. And maybe in the long term it'll be good. But I just don't see any positive outcome from this situation this calendar year. Even if you cut rates, I think you're going to, David, if Jerome Powell cuts rates, it's because it's getting out of control. And right now we've had 2 days back to back, over 4% down on the S&P 500. Nasdaq has been flirting over 5% down 2 days in a row.
I don't think.
And if this continues, if Jerome Powell comes in and says we're cutting rates, it's because banks are about to go under. He's not going to cut rates because Donald Trump just flexes on him. He's already kind of, stood toe to toe to him, exchanging comments like, I don't bend to the president. I don't bend to the president. You know what I mean? Like, he's already kind of thrown that out there. And I don't think and the day he sent this out, Jerome Powell is not supposed to comment on it. And he's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to comment on this, but like, he came right out. He's like, but he did put in some heavy tariffs and people ain't liking it. And so, I mean, it's not good. Like, at what point have we cut tariffs and things they've been good? Now, in the short term, like I said, this calendar year, okay. I think it's doom and gloom.
Just shut your mouth for 5 seconds. Jesus Christ.
Can't, man. Can't.
Okay, so Donald Trump said this. This will be a perfect time for Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. He is always late, but he could now change his image and quickly. Energy prices are down, interest rates are down, inflation is down, even eggs are down. 69% and jobs are up all within 2 months. A big win for America. Cut interest rates, Jerome. Now, Jerome was doing a press conference today, a little Q&A. He repeats he won't cut interest rates anytime soon as Trump tells him to stop playing politics and cut it now. Speaking that same day in Arlington, Virginia, Powell told a room of business reporters that the Fed won't touch rates until it has a clearer read on what Trump's new tariffs are going to do to the economy. Also, he said the situation now has highly uncertain consequences and warned that the new trade restrictions are bigger than anyone expected. Now, before we talk about Jerome versus Trump, I want to give a big shout out. Today's show is brought to you by Stake and Stake.us. If you are looking for a social casino to have some fun and redeem some stake cash for crypto, well, look no further than Stake.us. Or if you're around the world and not in the US, Stake.com. Use the link in the description. You'll go to Stake.com or Stake.us, depending on where you are, and you can play some of your favorite games like scratch-offs, like sit-and-go poker tournaments, maybe learn how to play Baccarat, maybe challenge Robin and roll some craps. Who knows? Either way, if you're looking to have some fun in social casino, create that link or create that account and use the link in the description.
You know what Vegas doesn't have is scratch-offs. Man, in Virginia, that was...
Every time I go to California, always buy some. I never win, but yeah. They're fun.
I think those are probably worse.
I even got my kids doing them. I bought like 20 of them one time, and I'm like, all right, you take two, you take two, you take two, and I hurry up. And then we just...
Let me guess, you don't give your kids any of the money?
No, I buy them a lollipop. Anyways, Robin, Jerome versus Trump. A lot of people are saying what Trump is doing to the economy, it's actually helping the Fed and the Treasury because they have trillions of dollars.
Unemployment came in higher than expected today.
0.1%,
right?
but private sector job growth is actually up. Non-farm payroll is actually up. So the public sector is getting...
So non-farm and retail jobs
private sector jobs,
private
not
sector
government jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are up. Why? Because people need a second job, man.
Who blinks
everybody,
first? Robin, who blinks first, Jerome Powell or Donald Trump? Because Powell is sitting there saying, your tariffs are the reason I can't cut rates. Your tariffs are going to bring inflation. And Trump is saying, the economy is great. Look at these numbers here. You should cut rates. Who do you think wins in the end? Who blinks?
They're both, I would say, from a financial perspective, Jerome Powell is the most influential person with the most power globally.
That can say F you to the president. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's literally like, it's like you got Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky. You know what I'm saying? You got two completely different sports, but still in the same conversation. You know, you have, or somebody that leads the defense. Let's say the number one defensive tackle, and then you got the quarterback. Either way, they're the leaders of both the respective sectors. Donald Trump, the leader of the United States, does influence finance. Not saying he doesn't. And Jerome Powell, probably the most influential person outside of the president.
What he does,
but he has more control on finance and banking.
Rob, what he does at the Fed with the interest rates impacts every single economy in the world.
Yeah, and they can literally decide to print money or stop printing money, right? They can do quantitative easing and tightening. They can inject capital. They can bail out banks. They can lend money to banks. Like there's really they have God mode underneath their fingertips, right? When it comes to money, and they're the ones that control everything. And hypothetically speaking, and I know this is a hypothetical, but on paper, they do not answer to the president. They do not answer to the executive branch, and so they operate 100% independently. And so it gets very interesting because the two most powerful people. Who's gonna listen to who? You could find yourself in a situation where they're both like, you know what, F you.
And it's crazy that
Donald Trump can be like, no.
Trump nominated Jerome Powell to be the Fed chair under his first term. And now they're big shout out to Nathan Lowmaster, said $20 super chat, said crypto and blockchain will have mass adoption soon, clear as day, just keep DCing and F all the noise. I think that's such a great statement. You know, for the Patreon members yesterday, for our insiders, I did do a write-up on what to do now with the markets, with the tariff announcement behind us, and specifically focusing on altcoins and what I'm doing and what's something you should consider doing. So that post went out yesterday. So shout out to all of our Patreon members. Thank you for your support. It's only $20 now. You can get all the alpha in the markets as well. And so I agree with Nathan. But Nathan, just to kind of put a bow on your comment here, adoption is coming, and it's those users and that money is going to infrastructure that's already there. Liquidity is already there, and users are already there. And so just keep that in mind when you're looking at your portfolio.
And then, you know, today's theme of the show the thumbnail was $75,000 Bitcoin or $90,000 Bitcoin.
I mean,
They're roughly around the same distance away, price wise, give or take a little bit. But which price you think hits?
okay. So, yes, last night, if you would have asked me the same question, I would have probably said 75. But seeing the stock market tank and Bitcoin rally, that's got me at a pause. Got me at a pause. I'm still going to say 75 though. 75 or 95? 75. That's where I'm at. Which I would be so excited if we get 75K Bitcoin. I have a little bit of dry powder on the side. Not the most I've had, but I got some. And if we hit 75, my target is 77 to 71. If we hit 75, I am a very, very happy crypto person.
I will say that generally when there's a correlation and it's been broken, it usually finds itself, right? And the two will converge. And so my fear is that if we open up tomorrow red, say tomorrow we come in, Nasdaq's down another, say 3.5%, I think we see a big tumble. Because I think the levy breaks on Bitcoin support, and I think you get a big sell-off. Now, if we can get that reversal in the Nasdaq, we basically Bitcoin survived 2 rounds of the stock market crashing, and it's like a boxing match, right? It survived 2 rounds. It's like but it can only take so many punches before it's going to go down. It's the same like when you watch Bitcoin, right? Say Bitcoin's price tanks and it's down 10%, right? Say you go from 80,000 to 73,000, right? Big swing. But yet there's one altcoin that doesn't go down. You're like, oh yeah, this let's just say Cardano at $1. I'm just giving you round numbers here. Say Cardano's at $1, right? Bitcoin sells off 80 to 73, it's down 10%. Everything in the altcoin market's down. But for some unexplained reason, there's Cardano just holding strong, holding that dollar support. Maybe it's only down 1 or 2%. If Bitcoin were to drop another, say 2, 3, 4%, then you know that once that support is broken, it's going to tumble, right? Then all of a sudden you see the dollar Cardano go down to 80, 70, 60, and it just collapses, right? That's just what happens. Sometimes it's just delayed. And I'm afraid that's what we're seeing now in the crypto markets. I think that the major markets, Nasdaq's down and Bitcoin hasn't dropped. And if we get another red day, man, I think it's going to go down. But I do think if I had to put a wager, if I had to pick one side or the other, I still think it's going to go 90K
First.
Yeah. I'm just concerned. Like I said, my big concern is that's still what I owe. I still think 77 is going to be massive support. I think we might go down there and test it if we were to drop down. But
what is this
for me? It's I still think that as long as the market holds up, if we get S&P 500 a little bounce back, I would expect to bounce back tomorrow. I think the day after, perhaps, but never know, man. Never know at this point.
What blasphemy is this? What is Olo?
No idea.
Wrong channel, guys. It's Ola. Jesus. Rob, let's take a look at the market.
All right. So let's take a look what's going on. Now you got Bitcoin hanging around.
What's going on?
84,000. So you got 84.1. So up today.
It's a big level, by the way, guys. 84.1.
Yeah. So this is up today. From the start of the show, it really started at 83. And so we're up above 84,000. So nice little rally here since we started the show. You look at where we've been, on the 1 week here, you can see that we are essentially trading sideways. So the U.S. markets are down, global markets are down, but Bitcoin's holding strong. So maybe there's something to this, hedge against inflation, because it's essentially what these tariffs are doing. It's kind of crushing the markets for inflation. And then to take a look at the altcoins as well, going down the list. You do have some gainers here today, above 10%. Cosmos, Jupiter, Pepe, and Algorand rounding out the 10% up on the 24 hours. Still down on the week for a lot of these outside of Cosmos. But you take a look at what's down. You do got Python, Pax, Bearer Chain.
Python?
Yeah, Python. Yeah,
Python.
and Aptos. So
We're out here making some money. Are you part of our Discord? If you're not, I implore you. Okay, so I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit. Okay, put this in our trading group yesterday. Bitcoin wants to break out here. Looks like we're getting one more tap on 82,618, and then we should see this descending channel break up. Putting in a 15x limit order at 82,618 with a take profit at 83,730, stop loss at 82,275. This is on the 10-minute chart on BTC. Now, we could have traded this, break to the upside, wait for a retest, and then got into it that way. But I thought at the momentum it was going, we were going to get one more tap, which we perfectly did. We got an entry, and then the first level that I was looking at taking profits. Now, we could have let this thing run a little higher, but in these market conditions, we take what we can get, even if it's 10 or 15%. Nothing wrong with that. We saw this level of resistance, so that is where we had our take profit, and we ended up cashing this thing out 19% on a 15x long on BTC. So those of you that were that are part of our VVIP trading group, you would have gotten this signal, and hopefully you made some money as well. So Robin, that really cool light fixture you wanted for the new studio, you got it, my friend. Also, good news for my friend Rocco. That perm he wanted. We had another Bitcoin long trade. Rocco, you're getting your perm, my friend. I know your hair is worth a lot of money. We don't waste any. Also, babe, if you're watching, that $10 gift card you wanted from Starbucks, that's coming to you, as well as we hit another ETH trade at a 12x leverage. This has been like a super easy bread and butter trade. 1766 and exit before it hits 1800. This one I think was like $110. I forget what it was. This one, $240. And so, those new pair of shoes that I wanted, I think I'm going to go ahead and buy me those. Also, we've been making money trading altcoins as well. Let's take a look at our altcoin trade. So we hit this AVAX trade for a 22% profit, $340. That was Costco's shopping trip that we have to make for the studio this week. Also, we hit a trade on Chainlink. That one was for $1,500. Now, that one will cover the new, we brought so much equipment. That'll cover one of the equipment that we just bought. And then the last one was this XLM trade for a 38% profit. I forget what the nominal amount for that trade was, but I think it was fairly good. What I'm trying to tell you is, even when the markets are down, we're over here making money. Join our Discord, get VVIP access for the trading group. You don't got to pay us anything. Create an account on BuyDeFi, deposit $100, use that $100 to trade, make some money, and you too can buy those shoes and the perm and everything else that I spoke of. So I'll be going live today. I think I'm going to go at 1 p.m. Pacific. We do have some stuff going on. We got to go check out some furniture for the back studio there, which, by the way, I think it's going to be ready in like 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be freaking awesome. Those of you that are coming here for Bitcoin Vegas, make sure to let us know. Stop by the studio, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to go live today for the trading show at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the show, where we'll try to find some more trade setups for BTC. But where's BTC looking at now? At least on the 10-minute, we might be coming into a little bit of a cup and handle pattern here. And then I would expect a retest or potentially a breakout if this does play out at around 83.73, which was our take profit level last time. So this should flip into support, as you can see and this is again on the lower time frame. We should see this thing hold, and we should see a nice bounce. But again, depending on what the rest of the markets do. But then again, the markets are bleeding today, and Bitcoin's up. So, but again, we'll go into more detail on the charts for the trading show in the afternoon. Were you done with the market overview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got, baby.
You're not excited we're making money here or what, man?
I like it, man. I was just, I had my Amazon shopping card.
Oh.
I was working on it.
No. That was money to pay off the stuff we bought.
Oh.
Yeah, you got to wait.
You better start trading, bro. Put some in. Need some more dry powder for my Amazon account.
Rocco, don't worry. You're still going to get your perm, my friend. Okay. Let's talk about this. BlackRock's Biddle fund hits $2 billion in AUM, pays record $4.17 million in dividends, with $3.5 million of it on Ethereum. This brings the total dividends paid since inception to $25.4 million, with 22.8 of it distributed on ETH, which obviously is like 95%. Rob, this is something that a lot, like Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, I know they're kind of already in the game. When you take a look at these numbers, 2 billion in AUM, when all you're literally doing is tokenizing what's already there and creating essentially a paper IOU, you're kind of printing money out of thin air, essentially. And you're paying dividends to shareholders or to people. And so this is massive. One of my big things, and those of you that are on Patreon that you see, one of them is RWA, and I break down my 3 favorite ones. RWA is something that if you want to be safe in altcoins or the safest as possible, be in sectors you know that institutions are interested in. And RWA is one of those sectors. Because until retail has more money, until retail is on better footing, until they can pay off their car, get caught up on their credit card bills or mortgage bills or car payment bills, because those rates are growing. The delinquency on credit cards and interest rates and paying their credit cards off and their car payment notes, the delinquency is rising. And so something needs to happen. Until then, it's going to be the institutions with billions of dollars. And where are they going to go? Where is that money flowing? It's not flowing in a Doge. It's not flowing in a SHIB. It's not flowing in a freaking, I don't know. I don't want to crap on too many projects, but it's flowing in to where the institutions are. And BlackRock is the largest institution. And where are they? They're on Ethereum. They're on RWA. They're on Ondo. And so don't fade those projects. That's kind of my take. Rob, what's your take here?
It's very interesting. Out of the top 40 projects by market cap, number 1 is Doge, up 8.6%. So money theoretically is flowing into Doge. It's outperforming on the 24 hours, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana. You got Doge at 8%. You keep going down. The next number that is over 10% is all the way down here at Pepe at 10%. So, I question your logic on the money is not flowing into Doge and other meme coins, because the money is flowing into Doge and other meme coins now. But in all seriousness, you cannot dismiss the power of RWAs. I think it's the new NFT, but for people with money.
Wow. What the fuck? Hey, dude, those guys that were spending
the people that
on an ape, they
did not realize profit. They didn't have the money. That's my whole point. Is these people they made $1 million or whatever it was on some meme coin, and they bought a bunch of NFTs. They probably took a little bit of profits here and there, but they didn't cash out their position. And at the end of the day, these people round trip most of their wealth. We've just heard story after story after story at all these conventions, meetups, and all these different events that you go to. And so it's a typical play-by-play, especially for anybody that I know that had exposure to NFTs back in 2021. They're not the most wealthiest individuals at this point in time. But you know what? You can't dismiss the institutions and RWAs. What's up?
UK Prime Minister just in seeks new trade deal with the United States to remove tariffs. Maybe the madman is onto something, bro. I don't know. But in the meantime, yeah, the stock market's probably not very happy. All right, let's talk a little bit about Solana. Now, I know you and Magic kind of yesterday spoke about Solana, but Solana is retesting its 12-month support, and we'll pull up a Solana chart here really quick. Now, the one thing I will note, there's around, I think, 200 million of Solana being unlocked today, and everyone's freaking out, right? And usually when the crowd goes one way, or crowd expects something, the opposite happens, okay? And so I actually think, and we're seeing a rally. This is on the 1 hour, okay? Today was a day, and we've rallied from $114 to $122 for Solana. And this was actually, no, I thought this was an inverse head and shoulders. It wasn't. But either way, this is Solana. And so creeping up here, finally catching some resistance at around $124 for Sol. We take a look at Market Cipher B here. This would have been a really nice trigger. Oh, we actually did get a trigger wave here on Market Cipher B. And so the entry here would have been at $115. And so that would have been nice. And so Market Cipher B, it's the real deal, my friends. If you guys know Crypto Face, we put in a $20 million Ethereum long. Dude's crazy, bro. Love watching this content. Anyways, big shout out to Crypto Face. Market Cipher B is one of my favorite indicators. But either way, Solana, $114 support level, which it's tapped now, essentially, 112 to 114 a few times. And it's had a really nice bounce every single time. And so that seems to be the zone. Just like with Ethereum, we identified 1766 as a number. And we've made a lot of money doing that by simply putting in limit orders on Ethereum at 1766. Is the play here to just put 100 and do the same thing on Solana between $112 and $114? Robin, what are your thoughts on I don't know if you want to speak on Solana's price action or Solana's future. I'll kind of leave that up to you, but do you think Solana right now out of the top 10 is the most undervalued cryptocurrency project?
I mean, that's
when you look at numbers, right? Numbers and metrics, users, liquidity, dApps, use case, utility, partnerships, and the value and how prices reacted. What would you say?
for me when I look at my altcoins, it's all about risk versus reward, right? And at this current state, I'm very unsure of where the market direction is going. Not only just in Bitcoin, but overall in alts as well. And so for me, I question, I'm like, hey, are we going to see in the, say, the next 60 days, $100,000 Bitcoin? Initially, that was my thought. I thought we were right on track for it. And then, tariffs come in and, well, it's kind of been derailed. And so for me, I question the next 60 days. Now, if we were to have a big sell-off, just say we go into a long-term pullback in Bitcoin and crypto, what altcoins would you want to be in? What altcoins would you feel comfortable that are going to bounce back? And for me, I think Solana's a good play. I think that Solana's undervalued right now, currently about 50% off of where it was during its current local highs as far as, this bull market. And so you're getting something about 50% off from its highs earlier in this run. And it probably is not going to dump off that much, even if Bitcoin does pull back. I mean, what do you think? What is the lows? Like $90?
I think Magic said, what, 70 to 90 bucks yesterday?
Yeah, so I don't feel like you're really missing out much in the worst case scenario, right? Say the altcoin market doesn't really take off. Bitcoin, it doesn't take off like we expect it to. Being in Solana is you're not going to have that big of a drawdown. I just genuinely don't believe it. Now you could sit here and say, $120 down to 90, that's a big drawdown. But I mean, compared to what's going to happen if those scenarios play out to say the likes of Cardano, Ethereum, ICP, you just go down the list, they're just not quite as established as Solana. It's just the reality of it. I love all the projects I listed. Those are things I believe in, things I have in my portfolio. But if shit is the fan and the market don't rally, Solana might be your best altcoin to be in my opinion. But now you take all that doom and gloom aside and you look at it from a rally perspective. We do get that $115,000, $130,000, $150,000 Bitcoin in, say, the next 90 days. Say the market reverses, we start rallying, tariffs kind of fall by the wayside. People, Donald Trump is here making deals left and right, remove all the trade barriers. The economy starts to rally. Jerome Powell cuts interest rates. China's buying Bitcoin. That scenario happens. We see a $400, $500, $600 Solana within the next 6 months.
I can see that.
And so that's kind of like, it's kind of the best of both worlds. Now, you'll probably get more upside, and you're also going to take on more risk with some other altcoin plays. But I just don't know the direction of the market. So for me, that's how I look at it. That's what I look at. I think Solana is a very, very, very good pickup right now at current prices. Even if the market downturns, I don't think that you're going to take too big of an L compared to some of the other projects.
Just an update on this whole tariff thing. Has the stock market 1,800? Oh my God.
Nasdaq's down 5%, bro.
Oh my God. 1,800. All right. I guess this is good news. To Lam, who's the general secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, said they want to talk about cutting the tariffs to zero. Nike stock, the stock market just plummeted. I mean, I know the stock market plummeted, but certain stocks like Apple didn't have its worst day ever. Nike had one of its worst days ever. because a lot of their manufacturing is overseas. And so if their product becomes too expensive, people are going to stop buying it. And so everyone dumped their stock. And now when you talk about, and I think Nike has something to do with this. There is zero chance that Nike had nothing to do with this because they employ, I think, 50,000 employees in Vietnam that make their shoes there. And so we'll see, but I feel a little liberated. And I'm trying to stay funny here, but the whole, we're on pins and needles. What is he going to do on April 2nd? What's the percentage? What is he going to announce? It's done. It's over. The markets are reacting. Over the weekend, the markets will cool down. No one can trade anything except Bitcoin. When you come in Monday, everyone's like, okay, this is the new scenario. What do you think the Fed's going to do? What can we expect? Okay, these countries are trying to negotiate. These countries are going to drop into zero. This Trump, and then you start seeing a clearer picture and you see a little more certainty. I think that's when things start going to the up and up. But
hold on a minute. You said you are feeling. Are you feeling liberated? Is that what I heard?
Dad.
Is that
yes,
what I heard?
Dad? I'm feeling liberated.
I think I'm liberated. So you ever done an escape room before?
You know, I am very liberated because I don't have to take that Hawaii vacation this summer.
So
I lost all my money.
You ever mess around with one of those escape rooms?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you did one? Here's a good one. Here's that. This escape room sucks. Once again, sir, this is a psych word.
Stupid. You know, my brother, he proposed to his wife at an escape room. They redid like an entire...
Is it because he was afraid she was going to say no and run away? Like, you can't get out of here, girl. There's no escape. You take this damn ring.
It was actually pretty good. They all like the clues and hints. They did it to like their relationship. Anyways, so I buy a bottle of Dom Perignon in 2009.
Which
and
now is
it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Yeah, a lot more expensive.
I bought it for like $300 or something back in 2018 or 2019 or whatever. And I put it in the fridge. So we walk out of the last room and he proposed. And my mom is in the corner going like shaking the bottle of Dom Perignon. I'm like, Mom, if you don't put that bottle of champagne down right now, I swear to God, I'm going to disown you. This is not some $5 champagne. I'm like, put it down. You don't spray it everywhere. So that's my answer. Mom, I love you though. I miss my mom. She's in California.
Now I know how to make a day to have an heart attack.
Yeah, shake a $300 bottle of champagne. Bad news. You know what? Before we move forward, I do want to give a big thank you. Today's show is brought to you by also Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you run a business, I implore you to pick up the phone, call Cam's, whether it's networking, IT, or cybersecurity, which is massive, especially in the world of AI as we move forward. Cam's is your go-to company. They've been our longest tenure sponsor. We don't partner with any other IT companies because they are the best. And so we implore you, if you run a business, you want to maximize those, visit bluewiretech.com. There's a link in the description of this video as well. A little bit of XRP news here.
Really?
You know, my father-in-law reached out to my wife. What, Rocco? What?
Huh?
What?
Well, I didn't say anything.
You did. You said, really?
Yeah, I said really.
Were you surprised I'm sharing XRP news?
Yeah, of course. Definitely
Why?
surprised.
I have XRP. I'm a holder.
Nah,
You forget.
no, you're not. No,
I'm definitely a
He's a
holder.
holder, but he's a hater. He's like that guy that like
I am not a
he's
hater.
like
Yes,
he's
that's
like
right.
holding his friend's baby, but he
Hates
can't
babies.
can't stand that toddler.
It's
Just
the
like,
one
oh, it's a nice baby. He puts it back. He's like, don't ever invite him
No,
over to
it's
the
the
barbecue
guys-
again.
Stupid baby.
at the four-way stops, waiting for the other one to start and just breaking.
Look,
the
man, you
car.
guys are haters, bro, not me.
No.
All right, anyways, trying to tell a
Please
story. here.
say something about XRP that is positive.
I'm going to say
Thank you,
something
please.
great about XRP.
Yeah, oh,
My
wow.
father-in-law reaches out to my wife and says, can you ask David if I made a good decision? It's like, what'd you do? He's like, I bought $10,000 worth of XRP. I'm like, so he already bought it. She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, tell him you did a really, really good job, which I actually think $2 is great. It's a great entry. I don't know about putting all 10K in at $2. I think there's a little more downside. But for someone who's just like, look, too much.
Listen, even your family doesn't ask you about XRP to you.
What?
Not even
They
your
don't ask me for
family.
any, You know what I tell? Because a lot of
They
my
didn't even ask you about
Even ask
XRP.
him
They
for
were
it.
like, you know what?
He's an XRP hater.
Yeah, he's
no.
a
You know
hater.
what's funny?
If you're gonna
is-
buy Ethereum, I'm gonna ask David. But
The
I'm gonna
last,
pull
the
the trigger on
last thing I'll
XRP.
say is that his last name, you probably got you're probably not even the biggest XRP holder with your last name, right?
He got a couple XRP.
That someone with your
In his
last name's
name.
got more XRP
He
than you
doesn't
do.
have my last name. He's my father-in-law.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways.
Idiot. You know what's funny is I get a lot of like family, cousins, and friends like, hey man, what should I do? What should I buy? My first question always is, do you watch my show? And if they say no, I'm like, I can't help you, dude. I'm sorry.
I just tell people Bitcoin.
Yeah, because you're lame.
No, I have yet to meet one person that is not part of our community that will like actively pay attention to the markets and get in and out. Like if I give you an altcoin, like, I don't know, you could probably buy it and just leave it there for the next 6 years. And next thing you know, you're like, so how's that Dash and EOS doing? I'm like,
Hey,
I
Rob,
still hold
don't
it.
take
Like,
it
you
away.
still got that? Like,
Don't take any more time away from this news of XRP because that's gonna be is the highlight of the week.
You know, Rocco,
Please.
I'm actually going to give my father-in-law your number and you can deal with him, okay?
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
Okay.
They don't say anything if he spends all his money in XRP. Eh?
Yeah,
they
they
have
don't
no.
get Christmas presents. Damn. Coinbase files to launch XRP futures contract, calls XRP one of the most liquid digital assets. They plan to launch a pending regulatory approval from the CFTC, which I don't think is going to be an issue. The contract is expected to launch on April 21st. So in just, what is that, 17 days? 17 days. So a little, almost 3 weeks. But interesting, the most liquid digital asset, XRP. I think XRP is going to have a really, really big next 12 to 18 months. I really do. They can keep bringing partnerships on. And once that stablecoin bill passes, if XRP is in that mold,
I think you nailed that time frame. 12 to 18
months.
months. Yeah. I think, you know, it had such a big run from the sub 50 cents to where it is now. It probably is going to cool off. And then even if Bitcoin rallies, you know, I think XRP gets back up to that $3 to $4 range. This thing is going to have a hard time doing like a massive breakout. But you give it enough time, you spread out about a year, you start making the partnerships as you mentioned, you get more headlines like this. The stable coin becomes more and more of a prominent, you know.
That stablecoin act is going to be big.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be beautiful.
You know what's crazy, Rob, is a majority of people who are not crypto native, when they talk about crypto, if it's not Bitcoin, it's always, I feel like, XRP. Always XRP. You know, my father-in-law told my wife, so I was like, why do you buy XRP? He's like, well, he said he's like, said the guy, the CEO met with Trump at the White House and they're working on something. That's why he put 10K in XRP. And this is a guy
smart guy.
That's the only guy. And the only thing my father-in-law has, he has exposure to the Bitcoin ETF through his IRA portfolio. That's it. And the first crypto he buys is XRP. So I think there's a lot of people in that category. I can probably argue the most novice retail-friendly cryptocurrency, period. Right? So
It's the one that makes the most sense, right? I mean, when you're trying to explain it to somebody, try to explain smart contracts to somebody that doesn't know anything about crypto. Good luck.
oh my God, you know the smart contract video?
All you got to
Oh my God, I got to find that.
So it's very difficult to explain crypto outside of just movement of value. But when you talk about XRP, the beauty of it for a novice is just like, hey, banks are going to use it to send money. It's a lot cheaper. Wire transfer costs a lot of money. You don't have the processing time. Banks like to use it. There's a lot of money moves internationally. You're just like, oh, that makes sense. It's just such an easy like plug, right? You don't need to go down this rabbit hole. Be like, all right, so you got this ERC20 thing, and then it's a little different. And then you can also use a scaling solution. But you got to have a decentralized wallet. There's got to be a liquidity pool. Like, explain that. You're gonna lose them. Like the second you say like ERC20, right? Once you say download a,
you say EKG?
Yeah, that's what the market's needing right now. An EKG. There we go. The S&P 500.
Is it getting destroyed?
It's get bad, bro. It's real bad. S&P 500 is down 5.34%.
How many points is the Nasdaq or the Dow Jones?
This is the biggest.
You know the circuit breakers are about to go off, right?
Dude, this is bad, man.
They're about to close the stock market.
I've just been watching it in the last 10 minutes. It went from 4% up to 5.4%.
You know what's the crazy thing? The biggest trading volume comes in the first 30 minutes.
It's almost at 5.5 now. It's like
the most amount of volume comes in from the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes of the trading day. And so this isn't even anything close. But we want to reward all of you that are still here. It is Friday, so we're going to take a trip down memory lane. I want you to take a look at some of Sin City Crypto's oldest content here. And take a look at these thumbnails. A little blast from the past here. Take a look at these thumbnails.
Oh, wow. We've come a long way.
We've definitely come a long way. This was probably my favorite amp. But we did a video on smart contracts. It was it had 29 views.
29 views.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, this is also when we were doing intros on our upload videos. This was our old intro. So a little blast from the entertainment. Welcome back, you guys. This is your favorite host, David here. We are a growing channel. We'd love for you to grow with us. Help us out. Like the videos if you like the content.
So
comment, give us your feedback. But most importantly,
I like the energy.
So great energy. Today, we'll be talking about smart contracts.
Not dumb contracts.
Smart contracts. What
That's
are
funny.
smart contracts? Robin was like,
The best part is the mic is super hot, and the mic is a good mic, and it is distorted.
yeah.
We had a $400. And then the funny thing is, we had two $400 mics and then a $300 mixer.
So true.
You get all these high-end mics, and you're just plugging it into this tablet thing.
It is crazy, man. Almost 4 years we've been at this, and to watch the growth is pretty awesome. And so I know there's a few of you that were part of this community during these times, and so we want to thank you, and we appreciate your loyalty. We love you guys so much. Come join me today at 1 p.m. Pacific time, where I'll be doing some live trading. Maybe we'll put some trades in and make a little weekend money, buy some maybe some 12 packs. Maybe we can go to Costco and buy the 36 pack from Costco if we make enough on the trades. Join me at 1 p.m. Pacific. And that's all I got. Rocco? Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. Love you all. Have an amazing weekend. Come join me again in about 2 hours. Love you guys. Until next time. Peace.
Sin City, crypto, everybody know we here for entertainment and info, gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in, for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in then you win, we divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David, I split the game but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite, I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners, special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners, ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors, they gonna teach us.
The Dow is down 2,000 points. 2,000.
We trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin, and sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, oh,